Good morning, everyone. This is Anna, Jim, and Eric, and welcome to our show, Live with MainStreet. Hi, Eric. Hi, Jim.
Hello,
Hi,
Anna.
Anna.
Well, welcome. It's February already, 2017. And so this month's focus for MainStreet is motivation, love. We just had a holiday this week, Valentine's Day. So what we thought we'll talk about today is on this theme, love, and how that relates to our finances. An interesting survey was done by Money Magazine and SurveyMonkey, and the question was, would you choose a $1 million per year for the rest of your life over finding a true love? And interesting results came out of that. More than half of respondents said that they would choose $1 million per year for the rest of their lives. It's a little shocking for me to see those results, but the point that I'm trying to make here, whatever the decision you make, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to deal with your finances. So we're here to help you, whatever the decision you make. Now, in this episode, we'd like to cover points about what would be important when you have loved ones, and how do you make finances help you with that? So let's start with Jim.
Well, okay. Good morning, everyone. And when you think about love, and I know one of the things that I always do is every time I leave a family member or friends, I tell them I love them. But there's something more that you can do. And over half of Americans don't do that. They don't have a will. And a will, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people, says, I love you, because you want to keep things in order when you die. So there are many, many cases of people who die without the proper paperwork, which, if they did it, would be an act of love. The most famous one was Terry Schiavo, a young girl who was taking diet pills in Florida. It affected her brain. She essentially became brain dead. And for 10 years, she was on life supports. Her husband wanted to end her life by pulling the plug, and her parents went to court to prevent this. Terry Schiavo did not have a will, which wouldn't have affected that incident. But she also didn't have a durable power of attorney and an advanced healthcare directive or a medical power of attorney that would have given her husband a right in writing to make medical decisions on her behalf. Also, she was lacking a living will, which tells the person that has the power to make medical decisions for you on what to do and how you want to be treated. So that case went to the Congress. It went to George W. Bush, the president. And in the end, the courts ruled that the husband did have the power, and she ultimately died. But it's terrible when you don't have documents. The latest notorious case was the singer Prince, who died without a will and left all of his family members and contracts and people that were affiliated with him in a state of flux. It's still tied up in the courts. There's lots of attorneys involved. If he just had made a will and other estate planning documents to send that message that he loved other people that would be left behind, it would have been a lot easier task for the people that remained. So an act of love is to get your estate planning documents done, even though it might be a small percentage that you would die this year. You need to have it done because nobody knows. Okay, Anna, that's my summation of how love affects your personal financial planning.
Thank you, Jim. And one point to make, and I mention this to clients all the time, is that when you get your estate planning documents done, doesn't mean you're going to die the next day. So just get them done and move on. Now, I want to talk about a bit more fun topic. I've mentioned this to you or to our listeners in previous episodes, and something that I actually practice myself. I'm talking about money dates. So a money date is a special time that you set aside on your calendar to go over your finances. And it really is a time when you check in and see how much progress you're making, or if there's a progress that you're making. And so the date could be either with yourself. If you have a significant other, that's fine too. Or if you don't, maybe you can check in with your financial planner or your financial advisor. And so I usually do this once a week. Weekends are the best, because that's when I have the most time. And so here are some key points that I go over with my significant other to make sure that we stay on track. So we look over our finances and say, okay, how much money did we make this week? And we have variable income, so that's important point for us to keep track of. How much money did we save this week? We look over our spending. So I'm a big proponent of mint.com. On a Saturday, I usually get my summary report of what happened in that week. And so that helps to see the spending pattern. That helps to see if there's an issue somewhere. So that gives me an idea of overall expenditures. Also, you want to make sure that you check all your bills are been paid, because some of them might be paid at the beginning of the month, some might be in the middle. That's why you've got to have these consistent once a week. And it does not take long. 15 minutes probably is all I spend. And then another point that I discussed with Yuri is, do we have any expenses or large expenses that are coming up, and how do we properly plan for that? So it's as I said, 15 minutes the most, once a week. It may be just checking in your balances, talking to your significant other. But the point is that if you stay on track, if you check in with yourself, that's how you know if you're making progress. And if you're not, then you have an opportunity to correct it. So I challenge you this weekend to set up a money date and let me know how that goes. Now, Eric, what do you got for us today on this interesting topic?
I'm a little more pragmatic. I'm not a big fan of love or the whole emotional thing. And I'm going to echo really quick on what Jim said, because as many of our viewers know, I lost my wife. I had to take her off life support, and it was not a very easy decision. So something to think about isn't just for your spouse, your older parents. If you have adult children, over the age of 18, 19, if something happens, you as a parent don't automatically have the right to make their healthcare decisions. So that's another thing I just want to echo with what Jim had to say, because it's still pretty raw in my mind, even if it was 5 years ago. In terms of what I'm bringing to the table is, again, I'm more pragmatic, but prenuptial agreements. So many studies have been out that said, first marriages are ending at a 50% rate in divorce, which is fairly significant. If you take it and look at it from a different way, if you had a 50% chance of getting a dread disease or something else, you would take actions to prevent it or mitigate it if something happened. That's not to say that your marriage is going to end in a divorce, but it's making sure you take steps that if something, heaven forbid, does happen in 10, 15 years, you don't have to go through the big mess that a lot of these divorces turn into. Another reason to get a prenuptial agreement is if you are divorced already, or maybe you lost a spouse like I did, and then you remarry, and you want to make sure your children are taken care of, because maybe you're a blended family. So a prenuptial agreement is a really good way to provide for your family member, your children, and make sure they know they haven't been forgotten about. So it is around the theme of love, even if it's a little more pragmatic. But that's what I have to say about the theme of love and just taking care of your loved ones.
Wonderful. Jim, back to you.
Well, thank you, Anna. I wanted to point out the difference between a will and a living will. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding that I've come across in personal financial planning. A will says, this is where my property is going. It's usually approved by a probate judge through a system called probate, which is just transfer of real property, not personal property, real property. A living will is instructions to the person that's going to be making medical decisions about you if you're incapable of making them. And so you tell that person, don't do any extraordinary measures, or yes, try to keep me alive as long as possible because there could be a cure, get a second opinion. But people have the right to tell that person, what to do, and they do that in an instrument called a living will. The durable power of attorney and medical power of attorney, in some states it's called the Advanced Healthcare Directive, but you're giving someone a power to make either financial decisions or healthcare decisions while you're alive. Once you're dead, your will takes over, and any accounts that you have that have beneficiaries, including insurance policies, that's in control of the things that used to be your property. So I just wanted to explain those differences.
Thank you so much, Jim. You know, one of the questions we get pretty much half of the time with our clients, because one half or a little over time will have half the documents, the others don't. So where do we go to get those documents down? Now, we know the correct answer, but sometimes you get a case where maybe it's a young couple or maybe it's a single person and say, well, I don't have a lot of assets, right? Why do I want to go and hire a estate planning attorney to help me with that? Can we clarify this point for our viewers? What do we think is the best option in either case?
Well, our viewers can go to usually the State Attorney General's website, and they will have statutory documents passed by a state legislature that people can use, not a will, but usually it's the durable power of attorney and advanced healthcare directives. Many medical institutions have that advanced healthcare directive or that medical power of attorney also. So there are other sources other than attorneys, but once people's lives get complicated, they really owe it to themselves to get good legal advice, because the people many times that I saw at a bank trust department, and I worked at 2 of them, the really messy, screwed up cases, in many instances where people did their own wills or their own durable power of attorneys and stuff, and they forgot major components, and it still ended up in court with attorneys making lots of money. So it's an ounce of prevention, pound of cure in many cases. So there are convenient, low-cost ways to execute these documents, but only in rare cases would I agree with people that do that. Of course, as a certified financial planner, we always tell people to go see an attorney for legal advice.
And it's just mindset, right? I mean, it's looking at it as an investment in your future rather than a cost. And if you can look at it as an investment, it just goes back to that mindset we've talked about in the past. You've got to have this belief that you're really investing in your future and you're helping yourself, instead of, oh my gosh, this is just costing money. Cable TV is a cost. You know, a will is an investment in your future for your family.
I like that. I'm going to use that phrase next time. I'm having a discussion. I'm having a client meeting later this afternoon, so definitely, I'm pretty sure they don't have anything set up. Sometimes I wish I was an estate planning attorney. That way I can just get it done for them at the same time we do a financial plan. Well, very well. Are we just about out of time? So the action items for this month, I want to start off with that, because we do get on these shows, we discuss the points, but the real reason, we actually want you to take actions. So if you have not gotten your estate planning documents done, or if you have and it's time to review and update, why don't you reach out to an attorney? If you need referrals to attorneys, we've got plenty of connections all over the country. So we're happy to share those connections with you. And then I really, really challenge you to set up a money date for yourself. If you want more information, I'm happy to share how I do it and give you all the details, but it's really, really, really not that complicated. Jim and Eric, thank you so much. I wish you all lots of love, and we'll see you next month for another episode with Live with Main Street. Take care.